Rev up your engines! How long do F-150s last? Should you buy a warranty with one? Hey, I'm going to answer those questions and more using this 2011 F-150 that came over here with about 150,000 miles on it. All right, the F-150s are the workhorse of Fords, but like anything, eventually they break down. Now, back in the day, we called them fix or repair daily. They're not that bad, but as they age, things wear. And in this case, I'm gonna have to eat my own words because I'm not a big fan of buying these extended warranties, but he bought this from CarMax. Yes, he paid too much for the vehicle, but he also paid $2 grand for an extended warranty. It goes up to 150, which this doesn't have quite yet. And he's had $10,000 worth of repairs done so far, including having the rear differential replaced. It's a very expensive job. They do go out, but he had it replaced under warranty. I'm totally shocked that they warranted and fixed it. The guy who did the differential said, now, the transmission might be going out. If this doesn't fix everything, the transmission's the next one to replace. So he's brought it over here for me to check it out, especially to check out the transmission, because this is what happens to Fords. It's a 5-liter V8, and a pretty good engine, doesn't burn oil. He got 20 miles a gallon driving over here on the highway, but the transmissions are always the weak point of all the F-150s, or really any Ford for that matter. But generally, you get around 150 or more, the transmissions start to go out. Now, from my experience, you like the truck, get a factory remanufactured transmission, and it generally will go another 150 or more. I do not advise having people rebuild them. Give you an example with this truck. The differential was gone. The guy took it apart and he said, nah, it's shot. We got to replace it. Ford didn't even make them anymore, but they found a brand new one somewhere and they put it in. In this case, Ford still does factory remans of these automatic transmissions. They're 6-speed automatics. They are totally rebuildable. Now, they're not the insane complexity of the new ones that have those crazy 10-speed automatics with 3 overdrive speeds. Now, Fords have always been this way. Transmissions are always kind of the weakest with automatic transmissions, but let's face the facts. Hey, if you get 150,000 or something out of a transmission, it's worthwhile for you to put another transmission in. The engine runs good, it doesn't burn oil, the truck's still in excellent shape. There's no reason not to fix it. As you can see on all data, it's $3,865 for a totally remanufactured transmission, which when you consider the price of cars, that's not that bad of a deal. You can find various prices for installation. It'll go anywhere between like $500 to $1,000 depending on who's doing the job. Or if you're handy with your hands, what the heck? Do it yourself. After all, this isn't a 4x4. It's just conventional rear-wheel drive. Transmission's in the middle. You don't have to take a bunch of crap off like you do in a front-wheel drive car where it's a real pain changing the transmission. On these, it's not that big of a deal once you get them off. And on like little bitty cars low to the ground, these are high up in the air. The transmission comes down. You don't have to pull the engine out of the way, take everything apart. You just take the drive shaft off, take it back. You get a little transmission jack from Harbor Freight's Tools for $100-something bucks. You can easily take them off, swap them out if you want to do it yourself. But regardless, you're still not looking at an insane amount of money. Heck, one of these things new is going to be, in the real world, anywhere from $45,000 to $80,000 for a new F-150. So you spent like, you know, less than 1/10 of that putting a transmission that might last another 150. It's a logical thing to do because he likes the truck. So we're going to get our fancy scan tool out, get this thing fired up, do an intelligent diagnosis. It knows what it is. Everything's loading up. Do a smart scan. Here we go. It's going to go through all of this different crap that's on here. And while it's going through it, we'll check it out. Nicely laid out dash. Now, it's older trucks, 2011, so it doesn't have any kind of big computer screen or anything, but it's got some nice power lead-offs, all kinds of room, and of course the back seat. You could play a hockey game in the back seat. It's huge. There's humongous room in these things. Definitely a family hauler. That's what he uses it for, but he's worried about the transmission, so we're going to look at all the data. Pretty fast. Now, BCM, the body control module's got a thing, so It's got a problem with the camera. We don't care. The backup camera. Camera module and hood switch. Who cares? Clear those anyways. And we'll see what's happening over here. Battery voltage. That's typical. As they age, battery gets old, they'll often trip those codes. Maybe it's going to need a battery, but you know, that's no big deal. We'll test that later. What we're worried about is the transmission. Now we got rid of the code, so what we really want to look at is transmission data. Start it up. And, well, look at the data stream. We'll be watching some of this transmission data as he drives. Normally I would record it and drive myself, but he's here so he can drive while I watch it. Him driving and me looking at the data. The output shaft and a turbine shaft. Now, so far those are normal, so we're going to look at some other stuff. So far it's going smooth. Now he says it has the most problems first to second, so we're going to watch this data. It's commanded and it's shifting pretty quickly. You can see 4 and it went to 4, 5. We're going back into first gear. You see they all went smoothly. Here we go. Of course, now it's going smooth, right?
Yeah.
If there would have been a time lag in these, there's no time lag at all. Unfortunately, it works perfectly fine now. He wants to get another transmission, but it's not acting up for me. Up and try it again and see what's going on with the line pressure. Not bad, really, considering it's got almost 150,000 miles on it. Well, you heard him talk. He never floored it like that before, so he's babying this thing, and it is going quite well. Data here, output shaft speed reliable. There's no error in the output shaft, so it's not like it's slipping. Do another trick. We're going to watch the shift RPM drop. Here we go. Now you can see it did have a little shift drop. As you can see, the one was a little bit, and this one is still 21 above, and this is below, 0.75 below. Now, of course, it's not perfect, but we're talking about 0.75. So that's 75 100ths of 1%. So, you know, we're not even talking about being off 1%. That's actually really normal for one of these things. As you can see, this time was 0.75, but the rise above expectation was 14.5, which is a little bit more, so it's wearing, but it's not outrageous. Just to check all of the shift solenoids, it's got 6 gears. There's a lot of data you can. And you can see the shift time from 10 to 90% it's 0 now, because this last shift was absolutely perfect. So we can see that in the higher gears, it's more efficient, which makes sense because he was complaining of sometimes first to second gear shift. That is the biggest wear in your vehicle, first to second gear. So it doesn't surprise me that there's more of a delay first to second because, hey, when we went fourth to fifth, fifth to sixth, there wasn't any delay at all. It was 0. And that's what you're going to see. Backing up, there's no elapse at all. So the reverse is working quite well. He wasn't complaining about that either. See, again, the shift time is changing in lower gears. It's not perfect anymore. But, you know, it's not that far off. It was like about half a second at the worst. I've seen them whether it be 2 or 3 seconds, and then, yeah, then it'll trip a code. But it being 0 or a little bit over half a second, there it goes again. See, the early gears, the shift differential is more. It's taking a little bit more time to get into gear. Again, when we're at lower speeds, it's got more time that elapsed for it to complete 10 to 90%, which really isn't bad considering it's got about 150,000 miles. There's probably nowhere in Hades you can convince somebody under warranty to replace this transmission the way it's working now, unless all of a sudden it starts acting up. As you can see now, we're going faster and the differential is 0. So now this shows the transmission is actually in pretty good shape. He wants to try to get another one under warranty, but unfortunately it's not acting up for me at all, just that, you know, less than half a second, and that's acceptable in any particular range. It hasn't tripped any transmission codes. And for me, it shifted pretty flawlessly. He said when he was coming through Nashville in stop and go traffic, then between first and second, it acted up a little. But truth be told, almost all of these things are going to do that with this kind of mileage. That's the biggest strain of your car, is first to second gear, the acceleration gear. And that's the one that always wears out a little bit further. Now, he's done all the logical things to it. He's changed the fluid, the filter. He even added some Lucas stop slip to it. And he said they all seem to do a little bit of stuff, but it's still got that first to second when he's in certain situations. It wouldn't repeat it for me, and all the other shifts were fine. These 6-speed transmissions are actually pretty good transmissions. I'm not a fan of the new 10-speed. Gets better gas mileage, but man, they have a lot of problems with those. They're too complex. This is less complex, and with 150,000 miles on it, truthfully, let's say somebody was going to buy this. Instead of me checking it out to see if he'd get warranty work done, he was going to buy this truck, I'd tell him to buy the truck, depending on the price. But as you saw, the shift data is good. I would have done the same thing. He would have driven around. I'd look at the data while we're driving to see what the transmission shape is like as it's going down the road. It's a dynamic test. That's the thing that you have to do with any machine that has a breakdown. You can't do a passive test. Guys will sit there with ohm meters measuring and blah, blah, blah. That's nonsense. It has to be done dynamic while the vehicle is running. And in this case, it didn't act up at all. So the transmission's actually in pretty good shape. If it finally did go out, yeah, I would put a transmission in it, but he's only got a couple thousand miles to go before he reaches the end of the warranty. And unless it really starts acting up on him, I mean, you never know. Maybe tomorrow he'll get in and it'll act up all the time. Quick, take it to the guys that say, look, it's acting up. And if they send a bill to the warranty company, said, yeah, you know, it's just that shift, the first, the second, it's going out, maybe they can talk them into replacing it. But as it stands now, it's in pretty good shape for the mileage it's got on it. Sometimes these warranties are worth buying because things do wear out. The rear end wear out. The transmission eventually will wear out, but if it's out of warranty, still it'd be a worthwhile thing to fix it on this truck. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.